Greetings, operatives. I am Agent Z4, and today we dissect human behavior so you can blend in without unfortunate incidents. Transmission continues from Mars Colony Delta on Sol 2819. Today's analysis addresses a technological anachronism that persists despite all logical obsolescence: the human attachment to books. Physical objects composed of processed plant material bound together and imprinted with information that could be stored in vastly more efficient digital format. Despite the weight restrictions for interplanetary transport, the environmental control challenges of maintaining organic materials in Martian conditions, and the availability of superior digital alternatives, humans have allocated approximately 1.7% of total colony volume to these plant material information repositories. This decision defies rational resource allocation principles. My first significant observation occurred when I was invited to the dwelling unit of the colony's lead atmospheric technician. Despite having only 27 square meters of personal space, she had dedicated nearly one full wall to shelving filled with books. When I inquired about this seemingly inefficient use of limited resources, she responded with visible emotional activation, explaining that her books are more than just their contents, and that digital isn't the same as holding a real book. The sensory aspects appear central to the attachment phenomenon. Humans frequently reference the smell, feel, and sound of these objects, engaging with them through multiple sensory channels beyond simple visual information processing. I observed one engineer inhaling deeply from the center crease of a book, an action he described as comforting rather than as the obvious respiratory hazard it represents. Most perplexing is the personification of these inanimate objects. Humans describe books as friends, companions, and trusted advisors. One colonist explained that books keep you company when you're alone, attributing sentience to collections of cellulose and adhesive. The psychological implications of this projection behavior warrant further study. The emotional attachment extends beyond information content to the physical objects themselves. When the colony experienced humidity control malfunctions in the library sector, 3 humans risked disciplinary action to enter the affected area and rescue particularly valued volumes. Their concern was not for the information, which existed in digital backups, but for the specific physical manifestations of that information. Tactical recommendations for field operatives. Develop appropriate book opinions consistent with your cover identity. Humans expect others to have emotional responses to specific books and book categories. The question, "What do you like to read?" requires a prepared response. Beyond information acquisition, when handling a book, demonstrate appropriate reverence for the physical object. Observe proper opening techniques. Avoid folding page corners and never place beverages near books unless you wish to trigger visible distress in humans. Critical. Never suggest replacing physical books with digital alternatives, even when logistically superior. This recommendation contradicts Infiltration Principle 7.3 regarding efficiency improvement suggestions, but experience indicates the emotional response outweighs infiltration benefit. Note that books serve as status symbols and identity markers. Humans strategically display certain books to signal intellectual capacity, cultural alignment, or specialized knowledge. The books visible in a human's dwelling often represent identity projection rather than actual reading habits. If entering a human's personal space commenting positively on their book collection consistently generates favorable response, the phrase, "You have great taste in books," triggers positive emotional reactions regardless of the actual titles displayed. The human categorization system for books reveals significant cultural values. They distinguish between fiction, deliberately fabricated narratives, and nonfiction, supposedly factual information, yet demonstrate emotional attachment to both categories equally. This suggests humans value narrative structures regardless of factual basis, a vulnerability our cultural infiltration specialists have exploited extensively. Most concerning from a security perspective is the veneration of physical books as reliable information sources. Humans frequently reference the phrase, "it's in a book," as verification of factual claims, despite the obvious vulnerability of physical media to information degradation, outdating, and deliberate misinformation. A mining engineer who utilizes quantum computational systems for geological analysis nevertheless referred to a 47-year-old manual as the final authority. On certain technical matters, the phenomenon extends beyond practical reference materials to fictional narratives. Humans will transport, at considerable resource cost, multiple copies of identical information if contained in books with different physical properties. One colonist proudly displayed 3 versions of the same narrative, distinguished only by cover design and binding materials, explaining this redundancy as collecting. This attachment creates unique infiltration challenges. Humans often engage in book discussions, where emotional responses to specific narratives are expected. Failure to demonstrate appropriate emotional engagement with fictional characters can trigger suspicion. During one social gathering, I was questioned extensively after expressing insufficient distress about the fate of an imaginary juvenile wizard. Next transmission will examine the human preoccupation with organized movement patterns called dancing, a rhythmic activity with no apparent survival benefit that nevertheless occupies significant cultural importance. As always, this is Agent Z4 signing off. Infiltration begins now. Thank you for listening to this story. I hope you enjoyed it. Be sure to leave this video a like and subscribe if you want to see more stuff like this. Video shares, memberships, and super thanks help the channel grow as well, so feel free to partner with this channel in that way as we grow. With that all said, thank you again for listening to the story, and thank you for your time. On the left side of your screen are some videos I think you might be interested in. I hope to see you in the next one.